Today I want to tell you a story so raw, it cuts deep, set in the frozen silence of the American Wild West, where the wind howls like a wounded animal, and fate waits for no one. This is a land shaped by loneliness, blizzards, and choices that can ruin a man or save his soul. It all began with a knock on a cabin door in the dead of winter. Something small, almost ordinary, yet powerful enough to change 2 lives forever. Before we kick off this adventure, don't forget to hit like on the video and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Ever wonder what it does to a man 32 years breathing dust and wind, never once touching a woman? Not the right way anyhow. Feels like you've been swallowing grit while everyone else drinks straight from the river. That winter of '86, I was that kind of thirsty. And Eliza Cole was the water either to pull me under or keep me alive. I still don't know which. She showed up rich as sin at my door in a white-out, half-frozen dress, soaked clean through so a man could see every curve the Lord ever carved. Standing there with a lantern trembling in my fist, I knew the promise I'd made my dead mother was about to be tested in ways I wasn't ready for. Folks called me Caleb Thorne. The virgin rancher said it like a joke. It never was. That promise had been a chain I dragged since 17 heavier every year. That night, watching Eliza shiver on my porch, those dark eyes begging without a word, I felt the links start to give. When a chain snaps, it doesn't whisper. It roars, rings your ears louder than a .44. That's enough talk for one night. My mother died when I was 17, taken by a fever that wouldn't let go. By the time Dr. Amos Reed reached our place, there was nothing left but holding her hand and listening. "Don't turn out like your father," she whispered. Her fingers were cold as creek stones. "Don't waste yourself on women who don't matter. Wait for the one who makes you want to be better." I promised, what else could I do? Tell a dying woman no. 15 years I kept it. 15 years watching other men spill out of saloons with painted women on their arms. 15 years lying awake in my cabin, listening to the wind and my own heart, wondering if I was honorable or just afraid. By 32, I had 320 acres of Wyoming, dirt, 80 head of cattle still breathing, and a reputation that followed me like a mangy dog. They laughed. I felt smothered. Then December came the coldest anyone remembered. Later they'd call it the Great Die-Up, when cattle froze where they stood. On December 23, 1886, all I knew was the wind howled like a wounded animal, and someone was hammering my door. I cracked it, figuring a drunk needed shelter or a warning. It was neither. Eliza Cole lay half dead on my porch, collapsing into my arms before I could speak. She was soaked to the bone, lips blue, shaking so hard I thought she'd come apart. Everyone in Laramie knew her, ran the boarding house on 3rd Street. Widow, 4 years, 40 years old, still beautiful in a way that made men stupid. "Please," she breathed through chattering teeth. I carried her inside without thinking, set her by the fire, stripped off the wet coat and frozen gloves. Her dress clung to her, showing the good Lord's work, and enough to make my hands unsteady. "Turn around," she said once she could speak. I did, stood facing my rough cabin wall while she pulled on my spare shirt and wool socks. My mind, quiet for so long, started shouting. Every rustle of cloth sounded like thunder. "You can look now." I turned and nearly forgot how to breathe. She stood by the fire, wearing my clothes, dark hair loose on her shoulders, eyes holding something I'd never seen aimed my way. Not gratitude, not softness. Hunger, the same ache that had lived in my ribs for years. "Thank you," she said. I nodded, my throat too tight to shape words. We ate without speaking, beans and bacon coffee, black and strong enough to rattle the dead awake. Outside, the storm kept screaming, rattling the cabin boards, and I couldn't stop thinking what the town would say if they knew Eliza Cole was here with me alone. "I know what they call you," she said at last, setting her cup down. Heat rushed my face. The virgin rancher. She wasn't smiling. Is it true I could have lied? Should have, but the way she looked at me, no scorn in it. No teasing, pulled the truth out of me. I made a promise to my mother, I said. Told her I'd wait for the right woman. Eliza went quiet for a spell. 32 years old, she said. And you kept it every damn day. She reached across the table and laid her hand on mine. Her touch burned like a hot iron shot clean through my arm and settled where it didn't belong. That makes you either the most honorable man in Wyoming, she said softly, or the biggest fool. I met her eyes. Maybe both. If she agreed, I was in trouble. That's when she told me about Silas Grady, about the debts her dead husband left behind, about how Silas owned the Lucky Dollar and wanted to own her too. Wanted her working there as a hostess, which was just a prettier word for what it meant. He gave me until Christmas, she said. Either I work for him, or he takes the boarding house. It's all you've got, I said. That why you ran into the storm I was running? She admitted, eyes sliding away. Stupid, I know. I thought maybe if I got far enough, he'd forget. Men like Silas don't forget. I know, she whispered. I just wanted one night without fear, she said. One night to pretend I had a choice. I should have said something brave about plans about fixing it. Instead, I said, you're safe here. She looked straight at me. Am I? The question hung between us like smoke, because we both knew she wasn't. Not from Silas, and maybe not from me either. The second day, the snow kept falling as if God had misplaced the stop. For 2 days, we circled that little room like wary animals stepping aside, stealing looks, pretending not to hear each other breathe. Problem was, the room never got any bigger. Close was all there was. She caught me watching her. I caught her watching me. Each time our eyes met, something tightened in my chest, tugged low in my belly, made me want things I'd denied myself for 15 years. Tell me about her, Eliza said that afternoon sitting by the fire. Your mother? So I did. I told her how Sarah Thorne raised me alone after Jonah Thorne died. How she worked her fingers raw as a seamstress, never complaining, never asking help. How she wanted better for me than my father had. He died of infection from a bar fight, cut over some woman whose name he probably never remembered. She wanted you to be different, Eliza said. She wanted me alone. No, Eliza shook her head. She wanted you to wait for someone worth it. I asked how a man was supposed to know. She gave me a tired smile. You'll know when breaking that promise feels less like sin and more like breathing. That evening we sat close to the fire, shoulders touching. Neither of us pulled away. I could smell her right there beside me lie soap and wood smoke braided together. And woman. The scent hit my head like raw whiskey. I haven't felt wanted in 4 years, Eliza Cole said softly. Sometimes I wonder if I'm even still a woman, just a widow, just someone running a boarding house trying not to fade out. I turned to her. Eliza, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. She laughed, but there wasn't joy in it. You haven't seen much. I've seen enough, I said. Enough to know. I lifted my hand and brushed her cheek with my calloused fingers. She leaned into the touch, eyes closing. You make me forget every promise I ever made. Her eyes opened. That's dangerous. I know. We were close enough I could count her lashes, see the pulse beating at her throat. Her breath quickened, mine followed. Tell me to stop, I whispered. I don't want to. I kissed her slow, awkward, like two people who'd nearly forgotten how. Then it wasn't slow anymore. Then it was all hunger and heat, her hands in my hair, my arms at her waist, pulling her in until there was no space left. She made a small sound, half surprise, half something else, and the knot I'd tied inside myself 15 years ago finally gave way. I pulled back, breathing hard. "Eliza, don't," she said. "Don't think. Don't talk. Just—" The door slammed open. Snow blasted in, and Silas Grady stood there with a pistol in his hand and murder in his eyes. "Well, well," he said, brushing snow from his coat. Two men crowded in behind him, Luke Branner and Cole Rusk, local toughs, who did Silas's thinking for him. "Looks like the virgin rancher found himself a woman," Silas said. "And here I thought you were saving yourself for something pure." I stood up slow, placing myself between Silas and Eliza. My Winchester sat on the far side of the room, might as well have been in California. Storm's still howling. "Silas, you should head back." He laughed, ugly as sin. "Not without what's mine." "I'm not yours," Eliza said behind me, her voice shaking but steady. "You got a debt," Silas said, eyes crawling over her, lingering in places that made my jaw clench. "Debt says otherwise, sweetheart. But I'm a reasonable man. Work for me, debt's gone. Or let this virgin have his fun, then work for me anyway once he's done. Your choice." Something inside me went still, not hot like anger, but cold. "She's staying here," I said. Silas's smile thinned. "That's so," he said. "That's so. Ready to die for her?" Silas Grady asked. "Because that's what happens next if you don't step aside." I looked at Eliza Cole, into those dark eyes that had shown me what living actually felt like. And in that moment I finally understood what Sarah Thorne had meant. She hadn't wanted me clean or untouched. She'd wanted me waiting for the woman who could make sin feel like coming home. "Yeah," I said to Silas. "I am." Cole Rusk reached for his gun first. A stupid choice. I snatched the whiskey bottle off the table and hurled it in one smooth motion, caught him square in the face. He went down hard. Luke Branner started to draw, but I was already moving, diving, rolling, coming up with my Winchester leveled straight at Silas's chest. "Out," I said. Silas didn't budge. "This ain't over." "It is," I said. "You come back, I'll kill you. Tell the sheriff whatever tale you like. You came into my home and pulled iron on me. Law's on my side." "The law don't mean a damn thing in a blizzard, boy." I cocked the rifle. The click wasn't loud, but it was loud enough. They backed out, dragging Cole with them, blood streaking the snow as he cursed. Silas paused at the door, glanced back at Eliza. "You made your choice, sweetheart," he said. "Hope it keeps you warm when he figures out you weren't worth dying for." The door slammed shut. Silence rushed in heavy as water filling a grave. Eliza was shaking. "He'll come back." "Probably," I said, setting the rifle down. "He'll kill you, maybe. But some things are worth dying for." She stared at me, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Why, you don't even know me." "I know enough," I said. "I know you're brave. I know you're scared and still standing. And when I look at you, I don't feel like I'm waiting anymore. I feel like I'm alive." She crossed the room in 3 quick steps and kissed me nothing like before. Not hunger. Desperation. Like I was air, and she'd been drowning. What came next isn't for telling. Some things belong to 2 people and no one else. But I'll say this, breaking that promise to my mother felt like the first honest thing I'd done in 15 years. And Eliza showed me what it meant to be with a woman. She wasn't teaching me. She was saving me. We fell asleep, tangled together, the fire burned low, and for the first time since I was 17, I didn't dream of being alone. On the 3rd morning, the storm finally broke. The sun rose cold and bright, turning the world into white diamonds. Eliza woke in my arms, blinking like she didn't know where she was. Then she remembered. I saw it all come back in her eyes. What we'd done, what it meant. "Any regrets?" I asked. Her voice came rough, like it scraped its way out. She stayed quiet so long I thought I'd lost her. Then she said, "Only that I have to go back." "You don't." I do. If I don't, word spreads. The whole town will know I spent 3 days here with you. I'll be ruined. Then marry me. The words jumped out before my head could catch them, but the second they landed, I knew they were true. Bone deep true. Eliza Cole sat up, pulling the blanket tight. You don't mean that. Hell, I do. It's not just because of last night. It's because I want you every night. For when the cattle freeze and the money dries up and the world turns cold, I said, I want you there. She started to cry. They'll say you had to marry me, that you ruined me and did the decent thing. They'll never forget. I don't give a damn what they say. You will, she said. One morning you'll wake up and realize you gave up everything for a woman with more debts than sense, and you'll hate me. I took her hand. Listen. I've spent 15 years afraid to break a promise, afraid to turn out like Jonah Thorne, afraid to want something bad enough it might wreck me. I shook my head. I'm done being afraid. It's not that simple. It is. Marry me. We'll figure the rest out. She studied me a long while. Then, so quiet I almost missed it, she said, yes. We rode into town 3 days later. By then the talk had already spread storms that big leave gaps and folks notice who's missing. Silas Grady had made sure everyone knew Eliza spent those days at my place. People stared like we were carrion. Women pulled their children close as if she carried a sickness. Men smirked and elbowed one another. I heard the whispers, whore, harlot, took the virgin for a ride. Eliza held my arm hard enough to hurt. Maybe this was a mistake, she said. No, I told her. It's the first right thing I've done in years. We went straight to the Lucky Dollar Silas's saloon. Every head turned. The piano died mid-note. Silas Grady stood behind the bar polishing a glass. Well, he said, look who crawled back. Come to settle up, to make things clear? I said loud enough for the room. Eliza's debt. How much? $300. Someone whistled 6 months' wages for most men, a year for some. I'll pay it. The room went dead still. Silas smiled. That's so you got 300. I've got 40 acres on the North Ridge, I said. Creek runs year-round, worth more than that. I don't want land. Then take cash. I pulled the leather pouch from my coat, the one I kept hidden back at the cabin, and dumped it onto the bar. Gold coins scattered across the bar, ringing dully on the wood. $140, every cent I had. Silas Grady's eyes tightened. That ain't even half. I know. I'll work the rest off, I said. You need a hand here, I'll give you a year if that's what it takes. But I'll pay it. Silas lifted one of the coins, bit down on it, then looked at me. Why, he asked. Why do this for some worn-out widow? Before I could answer, Eliza Cole stepped up beside me, chin high. I asked him, she said, if anyone's keeping score, 3 days shut in with this man, and I learned he's worth more than the whole damn lot of you put together. Starting with you, Silas. She let her gaze travel the room, meeting every staring face. You want to call me names? Go on. Won't change that I'm marrying the best man I've ever known? And if that ruins my reputation, well, maybe it deserved ruining. I just stared at her. 3 days ago, she'd been terrified. Now she stood in a saloon full of hostile men defending me, defending us. I turned back to Silas. The debt, yes or no? He looked at the money, then at Eliza, then at me. Something dark shifted behind his eyes. Keep it, he said. Wedding gift. I don't want your money. I said, keep it. He leaned in, close breath, sour. You think you won something here, you didn't. You bought yourself a used woman and a lifetime of being the fool who married her. Enjoy it. We walked out into the cold afternoon light with every eye in town burning into our backs. Eliza was shaking again, but it wasn't fear this time. I don't know if that was brave or stupid, she said. Both, I told her. Always both. We were married 2 days later by a justice of the peace. No ceremony, no guests, just us and a paper saying we belonged to each other. Then we went back to my cabin and tried to figure out how to survive a winter already killing cattle by the hundreds. January of 1887 was colder than hell's forgotten corner. I lost half my herd. The rest were too weak to sell. We lived thin beans and whatever game I could bring down, which wasn't much with deer frozen where they stood. Eliza kept the cabin warm, kept us fed on almost nothing, kept me from losing my mind when I rode out and found another cow stiff in the snow. But the cold wasn't the hardest part. It was the quiet. The town stopped talking to us, stopped trading with us. When we rode in for supplies, folks turned away. Women wouldn't meet Eliza's eyes. Men snickered and whispered behind their hands. One night, Eliza sat at the table staring into nothing. "You regret it yet?" she asked. I looked up from the harness I was mending. "What?" "This," she said. "Me. Losing half your herd, your reputation, everything." I set the leather aside, crossed the room, and knelt so we were eye to eye. "Every damn day," I said. She flinched like I'd struck her. "I regret it every morning I wake up warm beside you," I went on. "Regret not tossing that foolish promise into the fire years ago and finally living." Tears slid down her cheeks. "You lost everything for me." "No," I said. "I lost cattle. I lost what folks think of me. That ain't everything." I took her hands. "You are. You're everything. And I'd do it again tomorrow and every day for the rest of my life." She kissed me, then soft, desperate, grateful. That spring, when the snow finally bled away and I could count what cattle remained, Eliza Cole told me she was pregnant. I stood there in the mud and meltwater looking at the woman who'd turned my life inside out, and I laughed. "What's funny?" she asked. "Being scared," I said. "Nothing. Everything." I pulled her close. "I don't know how to be a father. You didn't know how to be a husband either," she said. "You figured it out. We had a daughter that November. We named her Maggie Thorne after my mother, Sarah Thorne. And standing there with that small life in my arms, I finally understood what Ma had meant all along. She hadn't wanted me untouched. She'd wanted me waiting for someone who'd make me want to be better, braver, the kind of man who chooses love over safety every time. Eliza did that. She made me that man. That was 31 years ago. Eliza's gone now, lungs filled the same way Ma's did. We had 28 good years, 3 children, and a ranch that never made us rich but kept the wolves from the door. Folks stopped whispering after a while. Or maybe we stopped hearing it. Some still ask if I'm sorry I broke my mother's dying wish over a 3-night blizzard and a woman the town once called soiled. I tell them, yes, sorry I waited so damn long. The rest of it, not once. Here's the only truth this old fool learned. When the thing you want most scares you worst, that's the direction to ride. Everything else is just a slow way of dying. And being the virgin rancher wasn't what defined me. Breaking that promise was. Finally, let me send my deep thanks to you. Thank you for listening. If this story has touched your heart, I invite you to stay with us to discover more true tales of the Wild West. Stories that honor resilience, tenderness, and the spirit that God placed in those who blazed the trail. Subscribe, share, leave your thoughts in the comments, and join us once again to journey across this untamed land. Thank you. Aviso legal/disclaimer. These stories are crafted purely for entertainment and may contain imaginative additions or dramatic interpretations inspired by old frontier eras. We use AI-based resources, voice imagery, and drafting as part of our creative process, but every final detail is carefully reviewed and shaped by human effort to preserve emotional depth and authenticity. We strictly follow YouTube's rules regarding AI-generated content and refrain from deepfakes, altered identities, or misleading representations. All images, sounds, and related materials are lawfully obtained. Please do not reuse, modify, or distribute any portion of this content without written permission. Thank you for valuing creativity, respect, and original work.